Okay, well, welcome to the Gaze into Your Retirement Future webinar. My name is Corey Cox. I'm part of the education team here at URS. And I have here with me Tracy Wilder, one of the URS retirement planning advisors. Just a few housekeeping items to be aware of. We have attached the files that refer to your pension and savings plan options that we offer here at URS, along with the investment options. They're at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. These handouts may be beneficial as reference to what we'll talk a little bit about today. Also, we do encourage your participation throughout the session today. So if you do have any questions, please be sure to ask there in the Q&A section on the bottom of your screen. We'll be here to help answer any of your questions that you might have. With that being said, let me introduce to you Tracy Wilder, one of URS's retirement planning advisors. He's been in the financial industry for just over 6 years now, and about 3 years of those with URS. So I hope that you'll be able to find the information that he presents today valuable in helping you make good retirement decisions and plan for your retirement in the future. So Tracy, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you so much for joining Corey and I this afternoon. Over the next approximately 45 minutes, I'm hoping to teach you how to use the retirement benefit calculators that are available to you on urs.org. Many of our members will have three sources of retirement income. They'll have, of course, the income generated from their retirement savings accounts, their pension, and then Social Security. Not all of our members have pensions. Starting in 2011, with the creation of the Tier 2 plan, members were able to choose a 401k only option. We call that the defined contribution plan. Again, that's if you're a Tier 2 starting after July 1st, 2011. And so you won't have if you fall into that category, you won't have pension income. And then finally, Social Security. Now, some of our members may not have Social Security. There are some agencies within the state that have chosen not to contribute to Social Security. If you have any time where you have worked for an employer that did not contribute to Social Security, your benefits will be reduced. It's a mechanism called the windfall elimination provision. We won't be able to calculate that for you today. There is a calculator. So the Social Security calculators, for example, let me back up. The estimate you receive from Social Security. The Social Security calculators that I'm going to show to you today all assume that you have the 40 credits and the 35 years of Social Security contributions in your record, and that you haven't spent any time with the Social Security exempt organization. So let's go ahead and get started with the calculators. Let me just bring the website up for you. All right, I'm hoping everyone has been to urs.org. This is the landing page for urs.org. I'm hoping that you've all had an opportunity to create a username and password. If you have, then you know that to access your account, you just click on Login, then Member, and then enter a username, answer a security question, and enter a password. For those of you who haven't, you just click on Create My URS Account, and then you can create that link. Now, to access the calculators, you don't need to log into your account. You just go to urs.org and then click on Calculators. This is the calculator landing page, and you can see there are three types of calculators. There is the calculator for the pension plan, calculator for the savings plans, and then a link to to the Social Security Administration that will help you to get an estimate of your benefits there. We'll look at that briefly, and then we're also going to look at another tool that's available to you, not through URS, but through the Social Security Administration. It's called their Quick Calculator, and I'll show you how to use that before we finish up today. So for starters, let's go ahead and go through the pension calculator. So we click on that, and we just read through that and accept the terms. Understand that they're basically just reminding you that this is an estimate. All right, here's the calculator. You're going to need some information to do this. You'll need to know, of course, your date of birth. Most of us know that. We'll have to know our spouse's date of birth if we're married and are interested in and want to have them included in the estimate. And I recommend that. You should do that if you are married. You'll need to know your current years of service, you'll need to know your projected date of retirement and the number of years of service you'll have as of that date. So you'll have to do a little calculation. Now, in order to calculate that, you're going to need to know how many years of service you currently have. There's a couple places you can go to get that. First off, every March we send you out a statement that has a purple heading, or rather a maroon colored heading. That will have your years of service as of December 31st of the previous year. If you log into your account at urs.org, it will give you your current years of service. And then if you don't have access to those two, then you can call URS and they can provide you with that information. Next, you'll have to put in, then you'll have to calculate your actual years of service once you input that as of your projected date of retirement. Finally, you're also going to need to know your current annual salary, and you're going to have an idea on how much you believe your salary is going to increase over time. If you're retiring any time in the future, remember that the pension system uses an average of, depending on what pension you're in, either a high 3 years or a high 5 years. So if your high 3 or 5 years are in the future, you're going to have to allow the calculator to estimate what those high years will be. Now, some of you may be retiring immediately, or let's say within the next year, or your high salary years may be in the past. In that case, then you're going to want to calculate what we call your final average salary, which is the average of your 3 or high 5 years, depending on the pension system you're in, and then input that there. If you're retiring within the year or your high years are in the past, you won't want to include an expected salary increase per year. You're just going to change that to 0. If your high 3 are going to be sometime in the future, then you're going to have to provide the calculator with that expected salary increase per year. Our default's 1. That's probably low, but it depends on your agency. Depends on type of raises they've given in the past. That's generally the best predictor of what to expect in the future. We'll first look at the results without inflation, and then we'll go back. We'll look at the results adjusting for inflation, and I'll introduce you to a term called the present value of money. You're going to need to understand how that works because it's going to be important in the calculations we use today where we adjust for inflation. And then finally, you'll be asked to enter life expectancy. Life expectancy does not have an effect on your pension benefit. We actually ask for that information so that we can provide you what's called a break-even point, pension break-even point, or excuse me, a PLSO, partial lump sum break-even point. And I'll explain that to you once we get the results. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to enter test under the name of the member. Doesn't matter what you enter there. In the second space, you're going to have to pick your actual pension system. Remember, we talked about the places where you can go to look at that. You can look on the statement, you can go online, or you can call URS. You can find out what system you're in as well as your current years of service. Most of our members are, of course, Tier 1 public employees in the non-contributory system. And so those are the first 1, 2, 3, 4 pension systems, and then the last 2 are the Tier 2 pension systems. So be sure to click on the right pension system, otherwise your results will not be correct. We're going to, in our hypothetical today, we're going to use Tier 1 public employee non-contributory, since that, I'm going to assume that's where most of the members are enrolled in that plan. For a date of birth on this hypothetical, I'm going to use a date of birth of the member of 10/11/1963. That's going to make our member, if my math is correct, 55 years old. We're going to enter a hypothetical for the date of birth of the spouse as June 29th, 1966. The member spouse will be 3 years younger, so if the member's 55, the spouse will be 52. Our projected date of retirement is going to be November 1st of 2028. That's roughly 10 years from now. So our member in this case we're going to assume has 20 years of service at the time of that they're completing the calculator. They're going to work an additional 10 years. And so they're going to have 30 years of service at retirement. Now this is where you have to be familiar with the eligibility requirements for your pension system. Because if neither your age or your years of service qualifies you for retirement, the calculator will not return numbers for you. In fact, it'll respond that you're ineligible or cannot be calculated, something along those lines. So you need to make sure that you're either eligible for the pension via the combination of your years of service and or age. In this case, I've chosen 65 and 30 years of service because in the Tier 1 system, either age 65 or 30 years of service makes the individual eligible for the full pension benefit. It's remember that there are early age reductions, and the calculator will calculate the early age reductions. So for example, if you're 64 with less than 30 years of service in the Tier 1, you know that your pension would be reduced by 3% due to the early age reduction. That will be calculated for you. Now we're going to use a current annual salary of $40,000 a year, and we're going to assume, or this employee is going to build in 2% pay increases per year. So they're projecting that, or predicting that for the next year or next 10 years, their salary will increase by 2%. The calculator will then use their 8th, 9th, and 10th years as their high years to estimate the pension benefit. Initially, again, we're not going to adjust for inflation, and we're just going to use a life expectancy of 85. Remember, that doesn't affect your pension numbers. So once we've entered everything, and if we've entered everything correctly, and we're eligible for the pension benefit based on what we've entered, we'll click on calculate and we'll get this result. This is if you're Tier 1 non-contributory, Tier 1 contributory, this is what you're going to see. You can see that we have 6 different payout options, and then we have within each payout option you can choose to take either the PLSO 12 or the PLSO 24, and then finally that last column is a break-even point. Let me just go through those quickly. So under payout option 1, this member's estimated benefit is $2,390 a month. Under payout option 1, that's how much the member receives every month for as long as they live, but when they die, that's the end of the benefit. This is the maximum member benefit. Payout option 2. This is a payout option available to members who are either in the contributory system or the non-contributory system who have a contributory balance. In this case, you receive a slightly lower amount, and then upon your death, if you have anything left in your contributory balance, that passes to your heirs. Keep in mind that that contributory balance is paid down during the first 10 years of the pension. Payout option 2 is also available for those of you who are like tier 2 hybrid. If the system ever became contributory, meaning you were required to make a contribution to the pension system. Now, payout options 3, 4, 5, and 6 all include continuing benefits to a surviving spouse. Payout option 3, under payout option 3, the member's spouse will receive 100% of the member's benefit. Under payout option 4, the member's spouse will receive 50% of the member's benefit. And you'll notice that the benefits under 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all lower than 1. Okay? And with respect to 3, 4, 5, and 6, that's where your spouse's date of birth comes into play. Instead of using just one life expectancy table, we're now using 2 life expectancy tables to calculate the benefit, and so there's a reduction in the benefit if you choose a payout option that provides for a surviving spouse. 5 also provides 100% to a surviving spouse, but with payout option 5, if the spouse passes first, the member's benefit reverts back to payout option 1. And then payout option 6, the surviving spouse receives 50% of the member's benefit. But if the spouse passes first, the member's benefit reverts back to 1. For that reason, payout options 5 and 6 are pretty popular because they provide for both contingencies. The contingency where the spouse outlives the member or where the member outlives the spouse. Now, under the partial lump sums, that's a cash balance you receive up front. It reduces your monthly benefit. That reduction is permanent. And you can see the reductions that go along with the PLSOs. And then finally, that PLSO break-even point. Let's go with, in this case, I'm going to use payout option 5. You can see that this is going to provide the member with $2,016 a month. The member's spouse will continue to receive 100% of that amount after the member's death. If the member takes the PLSO, you can see the reductions, the 12-month PLSO and the 24-month PLSO. What the break-even point tells you is if you take your PLSO amount and roll it out into your 401k or any other tax-deferred plan, which is an option, that break-even point is the rate of return you would have to get on the investment in order to make up for the loss in income by taking the PLSO. So that break-even point again is the annual rate of return you would have to average on an investment to generate the income you forego by taking the PLSO. In retirement, we estimate approximately a 4% rate of return. So anything above 4%, the member takes the risk that they may not be able to generate that income in retirement. That'll help you to decide whether it makes sense to roll the 401k out to your, or whether it makes sense to take the PLSO as an income generating strategy. Remember, this is a taxable benefit, so you'll be taxed by state and federal government. State if you continue to reside in a state that taxes, that has a state tax. Move to a state that is tax exempt, or that doesn't have a state tax, and then course, you wouldn't be taxed on that. So that's the results on the Tier 1. Let's, down here, by the way, this was added a year or two ago. This shows you the life insurance amounts that are available. This is something that you're eligible for at retirement. You can see you can purchase a life insurance for yourself and your spouse, or your spouse. Those are the premium amounts. The amounts do not change. The premiums do not change. But once you make the election, you can't, on the amount of insurance, you can't change that either. So let's go ahead and scroll down to the very bottom, and we're going to change the options. And this is where we're going to take into effect inflation's effect on the purchasing power of these dollars. So what we just looked at is what the projected benefit will be in the future. Under payout option 5, that benefit was $2,016 a month. But that's 10 years from now. Well, as you know, things get more expensive over time. And so we're going to use inflation to determine the present value of that future benefit. So for example, bread. Let's say due to inflation, the cost of bread goes up 2.5%. If it's $2 a loaf now, let's say it's $3 a loaf, or $2.50 a loaf 10 years from now. The future value of that loaf of bread is $2.50. The present value of that loaf of bread is $2. We're going to do the same thing with the pension benefit. Right now, what we did just now, we looked at the future value of the pension benefit, $2,016 a month. Now we're going to look at what the purchasing power is of that pension benefit in today's dollars. And we recommend using put it in the wrong spot. Let me go down to the pension. We recommend an inflation rate of 2.5%. So we're going to just enter an inflation rate of 2.5% and hit calculate. And you can see we've got a new set of numbers. And let's look at just payout option 5. Under payout option 5, it says the present value of that future benefit is $1,574.90. So while your pension benefit is projected to be $2,016 10 years from now, its actual purchasing power would be like having $1,575 or $74.90 today. That's important to know because especially if you have a lot of time until retirement, you can actually calculate a pension benefit, say 30 years out, and it will look like your pension, well, the pension benefit may be actually more than what you're earning now. That's because over the next 30 years, your salary is going to go up, say 2% a year. That can be misleading to you. You might look at that and you might say, wow, I'm going to be in great shape with my pension because it's going to be paying me as much or more than I'm making now. Of course, the problem with that, feeling that way, is that it doesn't take into the effect of inflation. I purchased my first home 30 years ago for $56,000. That same home today, if it was listed on the market, would be close to $300,000. It's going to take a lot more money to live 30 years from now than it does today. So anyway, that's present value. I hope I've made that clear. If I haven't, you can research a little bit more on the internet. But it's just telling you what the present value of that future benefit is. So in this case, we've got a estimated pension benefit of $1,574.90 a month, or $1,575 a month. You'll notice the reductions due to the PLSOs, but what you will notice is that the PLSO break-even point does not change. So that's how to use the pension calculator. I hope that answers any questions you have, that you now feel comfortable using the pension calculator. The next thing we're going to do, I'm going to go back in, we're going to look at the savings plan calculator. So we're going to click on Savings Plan Future Value Calculator. Now in this, be careful that the numbers you enter are correct, because a lot of times, and I've done this myself, it'll, for example, it might ask for a percentage, but I enter a dollar amount. Or it may ask for a monthly income or an annual income, and I put in an annual. And of course, I get these really high numbers, you know, like I'm going to have $100 million in savings. I wish that was true, but it's not. So just make sure as you enter this data that you read each one carefully and make sure you put in the correct information. So for this example, we're going to assume that this same member has a $100,000 balance. You just combine all of your retirement savings. These are whether it's your 401k, your 457, a traditional IRA, or a Roth IRA. Combine those and enter that balance there. Next, you need to enter your monthly gross wage. So take your annual gross income, divide it by 12. I'm going to use that $40,000 as an annual gross income. So if I divide that by 12, I get $3,033 a month. We're going to stick with 2% increases in wages, just like we did with the pension. I'm trying to leave the hypothetical the same throughout. So we're going to assume that this member's salary is going to go up 2% every year. Next, and this is typically where I may make a mistake. I read monthly contributions and I enter a dollar amount. It actually just wants your percentage of gross wages. And you may remember, if you've been to one of our presentations, a seminar, or even one of our individual retirement planning sessions, we always encourage you to save a percentage rather than a fixed dollar amount. The advantage, of course, is that as your pay goes up, so does the amount that you save. We're going to assume in this case that we have a member who is saving 10% of their salary. So they're making $40,000 a year. They're saving $4,000 a year for retirement. 10% in this case. We're not going to assume any employer contributions. Now, you're going to need to know whether your employer contributes. Most employers do not. But for example, state employees get certain contributions by their employer. You're going to need to know what those are. So be familiar with those so that you can get good information. If you are in the Tier 2 system, and of course, you know, you're potentially getting a small contribution to a 401k if you're in the hybrid plan. We would recommend not using any more than 1% there, even though the contribution amount may end up being more than that. Be conservative and don't use anything over 1%. In this case, I'm just going to assume 0%. Then you have to put in estimated years of future contributions. Remember, in our hypothetical, our member was going to retire 10 years from now. So estimated years of future contributions, 10. Now, if it's 10 and a half, enter 10.5. If it's 10 and a quarter, enter 10.25, whatever it is. Then we need to enter the rate of return we expect to receive on the investments we hold in those plans. We recommend using 7%. Now, again, it's a good idea to be conservative here. So kind of be aware of how your investments are performing, but we wouldn't recommend using over 7%. Again, we're recommending that you be conservative. Next, number of years you would like to receive monthly withdrawals. This is the number of years you plan to be in retirement. In our hypothetical, you remember the member was retiring at age 65 and put in an anticipated life expectancy of 85. So this member is going to expect to receive, or would like us to calculate his benefit based on them receiving, being able to take withdrawals over 20 years. Finally, recommend, or you need to enter the rate of return you expect to receive during withdrawals. Of course, that's going to be a lower rate of return. You get a lower rate of return during your withdrawal stage than you do during your contribution stage. We'd recommend just going with 4. And then finally, in this case, we recommend you use an average rate of inflation of 2.5%, just like we did when we used the pension calculator. We can do all of that here because with the savings plans calculator, not only is the result going to show your future total balance, your future monthly projected income, but it's also going to give you your projected present value income from those savings. Remember when we did it on the pension, we first did it without entering inflation, and then later we went back and entered inflation. So let's go ahead and click on calculate. So these are our results. So this member at age 65 will have a balance of $263,421.76. So based on their contributions and return on investment, their balance would have grown from $100,000 up to $263,421.76. That will, 10 years from now, we're projecting that that will generate about $1,266 in income. However, the present value of that future stream of income is $989. Again, it's just the fact that things are going to get more expensive going forward. So having $1,266 10 years from now would be like having $989 today. And that's how you use the savings plan value calculator. I want to show you something just to show you the effect of rate of return on your investment. Remember, we're at 263 now. I want to show you what happens if we just increase our expected rate of return by 1%. So 8% during our contribution years. You can see that increased the future balance, the monthly withdrawal future balance, and then the present value. Looks like it increased that present value about $100. And the future balance by about $24,000. So the estimate or the rate of return you expect to receive during your contribution years can really affect how much money you'll have in the future. Let's go back to 7% there. And let's assume that you've run the numbers and you're like, well, that's great. I'm going to have about $1,000 a month in income, but you know what? That's not going to be nearly enough. I would like to have more. Well, let's assume that you increase your contribution to 20% of your wages, and let's see what that does to your numbers. You can see that by doubling your contribution for only a 10-year period of time, you've been able to increase your balance by about $65,000 a year, and you've been able to increase your monthly income by about $250 a year. So you can make the obviously the more you save, the more you'll have. I don't care whether you have 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, or 5 years until you retire. Every penny you save today will be money you'll have in retirement, and that will help to cover all of the emergency expenses that we have during retirement, whether they be putting a new roof on the house or medical expenses or new car or something along those lines. All right, so that's the savings plan calculator. Finally, let's go back to the calculators, and I want to show you this link we have to Social Security. Now, many of you may have a statement that you've received from Social Security, and it will show your projected income at 3 different ages. The first is age 62. That's when you become eligible for Social Security. The next number will be anywhere from 65 to 67. That's your full retirement benefit. That's when you receive 100% of your Social Security benefit, and your full retirement age depends on the year that you were born. And then finally, it will show your anticipated monthly benefit at age 70. That is the maximum Social Security benefit for you. Of course, everybody's benefit at age 70 will be different depending on their earning history, but that's the maximum benefit for you at age 70. So you never want to wait past age 70 to collect Social Security. If you do, you're just leaving money on the table. When you decide to collect Social Security is up to you. For many people, when they collect Social Security is driven by need more than anything else. They want to retire, and they need that Social Security income to help make ends meet. Let me show you just this little link. I'm not going to be able to do this because you actually have to enter in real information here. So you'd actually have to enter in your information, but it would actually link and give you an estimate to your benefit. So we're going to click on that estimate your retirement benefit, and you can see this is the information you have to put in. Your first name, last name, any other last names, your mother's maiden name, your Social Security number, date of birth, your place of birth. If you enter all that information, and then you click on this, I agree to the terms of service, and then click submit, you will get the same numbers that appear on your statement. The age 62, the full retirement age, and the age 70. And those numbers will be based on your earning history with Social Security. There is, however, one other tool that you have available to you. Sometimes this won't work. For example, if you've been locked out of your account with SSA.gov, you may not be able to access your information, or if you haven't created a login. And we encourage everybody to create a login at SSA.gov. That's a source you can go to get your Social Security numbers. Even if you're young and it's still many years before you plan on taking your Social Security benefit, it's a good idea to log in at least annually to make sure that your account hasn't been hacked and that somebody isn't collecting benefits on your record. As you know, there have been a number of breaches of different accounts, not at URS, but at different, the credit rating agencies, different banks, things like that. And so our information is out there. And so we need to be proactive in protecting that information. You can do that by creating a login at SSA.gov and then logging in there every year or so to make sure that you're see what your estimated benefits look like, and then make sure nobody is collecting on your record. And then when you're ready to start collecting Social Security, you could actually apply for the benefit by logging into your account. Keep in mind that the numbers that appear on your statement and that appear here, these numbers have already been adjusted for inflation. So they're showing you the present value of your future benefit. They don't show you your projected future benefit. Social Security has realized the danger in showing people their anticipated future benefit because that can be misleading. People look at that just like they can look at their future pension benefit and feel that because the number is so high, they're going to be in good shape without taking into account the effect that inflation is going to have on those dollars. So let me show you another way another tool that's available. And if you just go to Google and type in Social Security quick calculator, and you can see mine comes up because I've been there numerous times. This is another easy way to calculate your Social Security benefit. And I would always make sure that the path is the SSA.gov website. Make sure that you're not going to some other third-party site. So we're going to click on this and pull this up. And we're going to click on Retirement Estimator. You can see there's a number of different calculators here. All right, so estimate your retirement benefits. Oh, I clicked on the wrong link. I'm sorry. Let me go back. Social Security. Oh, I went to the wrong one. Sorry. Quick calculator right there at the top. Sorry. Okay, here's the quick calculator. All right, so the only thing you're going to need for this, standard this, is just your date of birth and your current salary. So remember in our case, our member, let's see, let me go back to my hypothetical. Our member was born October 11th, 1963, and they have a current salary of $40,000 a year. We're going to go ahead, go down here to the bottom, and you'll notice that you can get today's dollars, the present value benefit, or you can see the inflated future dollars. I'm going to, for this first time, we're just going to use today's dollars. We're going to get the present value number. So hit Submit Request, and here are the three numbers I was talking about. This is our hypothetical individual's Social Security benefits at age 62, age 67, and age 70. The general rule is that from 62 to your full retirement age, your Social Security benefit goes up about 6 2/3% every year, so 6.66%. And then from your full retirement age to age 70, it goes up about 8% a year. So the same can be said if you start collecting Social Security. If your full retirement age is 67 and you take it at 66, you will see about a 6.66% decrease in your benefit. There is a table that's available if you Google effect of early or delayed retirement on retirement benefits. Again, it's effect of early or delayed retirement on retirement benefits. It pulls up a chart that'll show you how to calculate the reduction on your benefit if you choose to take the benefit at an age other than 62, your full retirement age, or age 70. My understanding is what Social Security does when they calculate this benefit is they just, based on your current salary, they calculate annual increases in pay, and then they estimate that benefit, again, based on you working till 62, 67, or 70. But you'll remember that in our hypothetical, our member was only working until age 65. So there's another way that you can determine what your benefit will be if you're retiring other than at 62 full retirement age or age 70. And that is, you go down here where it says future retirement date option, and you just put in the month and the year. And you recall from our hypothetical that our member was going to retire November of 2028. We hit Submit Request again, and now it tells us that at age 65, this member's benefit is projected to be $1,234 a month. So use that if you're planning on retiring at an age other than 62, full retirement age, or 70. Now, for some of you, 65 is going to be your full retirement age, so you need to know what your full retirement age is. You can go back, and just to give you, if you click on this inflated dollars, you can submit requests, and it'll actually show you what this individual's actual benefit is projected to be, $1,702 10 years from now. So you can see there's several $100 difference between the future benefit and the present value. Of course, the danger in using the future value is that it's only as good as the assumptions, right? Just like we did with the pension. If you assume that your pay is going to go up 2% and it doesn't, well, your number is going to be too high. So better to use that and then adjust for inflation and bring it down to the present value. So those are the calculators. We've looked at pension, the pension estimate calculator. We've looked at the savings plans, and we've looked at the couple of ways that you can calculate your Social Security benefit. Now, I'm going to show you one other thing. I'm not going to run a number, but I want you to see it so you know it's here. Remember, some of you can purchase years of service. You can either purchase up to 5 years of future service, or you can purchase service that you have in another state system or in the federal system. One way to calculate that is to use this service purchase estimate calculator. Now, if you're purchasing forfeited years of service that you have in the URS system, say 20 years ago you worked in the URS system, for a government agency, but then you left and you cashed out your benefit, this calculator will not work to estimate that. You'll need to call the pension office in order to get an estimate of that cost. But particularly if you're looking at purchasing future years of service, remember if you're tier 1, you can purchase up to 5 years. Once you hit age 65, as long as you have 25 years of service, you can purchase 5 more, get that to get those 30 years of service. This is an excellent way to calculate that. It'll tell you how much that's going to cost. And if any of you have run that, you know that's not cheap. So, but it may still be worth it. So don't assume just because the number is big that it doesn't make sense. Because of course, as you purchase years of service, yes, there's a cost, but there's an increased benefit. Your pension benefit is increased by the years of service you purchase. So that's the 3 calculators. I hope that's been helpful to you. If you have any questions about that, you can always contact either the pension department or the savings plans department. They can help you with the calculators. They're available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Of course, if you have questions about Social Security, you need to go to the Social Security Administration. So if you have questions about your statement or the numbers that you're seeing, the only source there is Social Security Administration. So thanks so much for joining me. I'm going to turn the time back to Corey.
So as you can see, if you were to put this into perspective, as far as how much you would receive, you can actually see that you can add that up based on what you may earn in retirement. Let's say you take pension option 5 in this example, you get that $1,575, or your individual savings plans, you got $989 in that present value calculation that we did. Social Security at the age of 65, the present value was $1,234. So in this particular example that we gave to you with regards to those scenarios that we ran, this individual would have potentially be making more in retirement than they would while they're working, about $465 a month. So this just kind of helps you put that into perspective a little bit when you run those calculators. In addition, if you want us to help you do that and run through those scenarios with you, we can help calculate that information by going onto our website, and you can register for an individual retirement planning session. So we'd love to be able to help you with that. If you log into your account, you can actually register for one of those sessions by going to the Education tab there once you log in, and choosing the individual retirement planning sessions on the left-hand side and selecting a location, date, and time for when we're able to meet with you. So we appreciate you joining us today. I hope you were able to learn a lot from Tracy in this Gaze into Your Retirement Future webinar. I hope that this will help you be able to plan for a prosperous retirement. Also, just another quick note that I wanted to make mention of. You should receive an email here in the next few hours, basically thanking you for your participation, but we also will ask you for your feedback on how this presentation went, and let us know how we did. This helps us in future presentations make sure we're giving you good information that you're seeking, as well as making sure we did a good job on the presentation. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and stick on the webinar for a few minutes just to ensure all of your questions were answered. You can go ahead and ask those questions in the Q&A section there at the bottom, and we'll stay online to do that. Thank you so much, and we hope you have a wonderful day.